Hello and welcome back to Talk English Now. I'm Sarah, and today we're going to talk about how you can begin conversations in English with confidence and ease, starting small, but building real fluency over time. I know that starting a conversation can sometimes feel like standing at the edge of a swimming pool. You want to jump in, but you're worried the water might be too cold. Or maybe you're not sure if you'll know how to swim once you're in. But here's the truth. The first few moments of a conversation don't have to be perfect. They just need to be real, warm, and inviting. When you think about starting a conversation, it's easy to imagine that you need a big, impressive sentence. But in reality, conversations often begin with the simplest words: a hi, a good morning, a how are you? These may sound basic, but they're powerful because they open the door. And once the door is open, you can step inside and let the conversation grow naturally. Now, let's slow it down and imagine you're meeting someone in a coffee shop. You see them waiting for their drink, and you'd like to say something. Instead of rehearsing a complicated phrase, you could start with something simple like, "Hi, I think we've met before," or "Hi, that drink looks good, is it your favorite?" The point here isn't perfection, it's connection. When you start with warmth, people respond with warmth. It's also important to understand that you don't need to speak quickly when starting a conversation. In fact, speaking slowly and clearly shows confidence. Take a breath. Allow yourself to pause between words. That space gives your mind time to think, and the listener time to absorb what you're saying. Fluency is not just about speed, it's about flow. Let's practice together. I'll say a phrase slowly, and you can repeat it after me. Hi, how's your day going? Now you try. Again. Hi, how's your day going? Feel the rhythm of it. Notice how the pauses make it easier to speak and easier to understand. Sometimes, starting a conversation is easier if you notice something around you. This is called using your environment. Maybe you're in a park and you see a beautiful flower. You could say, "That's a beautiful flower, isn't it?" Or maybe you're in a classroom and it's raining outside. You could say, "The rain is really heavy today." These are gentle ways to begin because they give the other person something to respond to. Another thing to remember is that starting a conversation is like lighting a match. The first spark is just the beginning. To keep it going, you need to add more. Small questions are the wood that keeps the fire alive. After, "Hi, how's your day going?" you can follow with, "What have you been working on today?" or "Have you been here before?" Each question is like another piece of wood, keeping the conversation warm. Now, let's do a short shadowing practice. I'll speak slowly, and you repeat after me. Ready? Hi, it's nice to see you. How's your morning been? Have you been busy today? This kind of practice helps you train your mouth and ears to work together. You hear the phrase, you repeat it, and over time it becomes natural. One of the biggest fears learners have is making mistakes when starting a conversation. Let me tell you a secret. Native speakers make mistakes too. We forget words, we change sentences halfway, we say and it's completely normal. Your goal is not to be perfect. It's to be understandable, friendly, and present in the moment. If you're in a situation where you feel shy, try starting with a compliment. people usually respond positively when you say something kind. For example, I like your jacket, or that's a nice bag. These are safe, friendly ways to open a conversation. Just remember to be sincere. Let's try another practice together. I'll give you a scenario, and you repeat the opening line with me. Scenario 1. You're in a store and someone is looking at the same item as you. Say, "That's a good choice." Scenario 2. You're at a bus stop and someone is waiting next to you. Say, "I think the bus is running late today." Scenario 3. You meet a new classmate. Say, "Hi, I don't think we've met before." Every time you practice these, imagine the situation in your mind. Picture the person, picture the place, hear your voice in that moment. This visualization makes the practice more powerful because your brain starts to believe you've already done it. So when the real moment comes, it feels familiar. The most important thing is to take small, steady steps. Every time you start a conversation, you're building your confidence, and that confidence will grow the more you practice. Before we move on to some slightly longer conversation starters, I want you to remember, you don't need a perfect accent, you don't need advanced vocabulary, you just need a little courage to speak the first words. And after that, you'll see that people are usually happy to talk with you. All right, let's continue our slow practice. Repeat after me, one phrase at a time. Hello, it's nice to meet you. Hi, what brings you here today? Hey, how have you been? These short, friendly phrases are like keys, and you can carry them with you wherever you go. Now, imagine you're using one of these phrases in real life. You say it, the other person responds, and then you ask a simple follow-up question. This is how conversations begin and grow. It's not magic. It's a skill you can learn and get better at every day. Let's pause here and take a deep breath together. Inhale slowly, hold for a moment, and exhale. Learning to start conversations in English is not about pressure, it's about presence. Being here, in the moment, ready to connect. In the next part, we'll explore how to keep a conversation flowing once you've started it. And I'll give you some natural, slow English phrases you can practice to make your conversations feel smooth and friendly. Once you've opened the door to a conversation, the next step is to gently keep it moving. You don't need to rush. You don't need to fill every silence with words. In fact, allowing a natural rhythm gives the other person space to think and respond. That space is where connection grows. One of the easiest ways to keep a conversation flowing is to listen carefully. When you truly listen, you'll hear clues in the other person's words. For example, if they say, "I've been really busy at work," you can follow up with, "Oh, what kind of work do you do?" Or, "That sounds like a lot. What's been keeping you busy?" By picking something from what they just said, you show interest, and that makes the other person want to share more. Let's practice this together slowly. I'll say a short sentence, and you respond with a natural follow-up question. "I just got back from a trip." Your response could be, "Where did you go?" Another example, "I'm learning to cook Italian food." Your response could be, "That sounds delicious. What have you made so far?" This is the heart of a good conversation. Curiosity. Sometimes, Especially for English learners, we worry that we'll run out of things to say. But here's a tip. You can prepare a few safe, general questions that work in almost any situation. Things like, how has your day been? What do you do in your free time? Or, have you seen any good movies lately? These are simple, but they open up many directions for the talk to go. Remember, it's okay to talk about yourself too. In fact, sharing a little about yourself helps the other person feel comfortable sharing with you. For example, you might say, I've been trying to read more books this year, and then follow it with, how about you? Do you like reading? Notice how this turns your statement into a question that invites them in. Let's do a short shadowing practice with some of these conversation-keeping phrases. Repeat after me slowly. That sounds interesting. Can you tell me more? Really? How did that happen? Oh, I'd love to hear more about that. Each of these phrases is a bridge, a way to move from one part of the conversation to the next without feeling stuck. And here's something important. You don't have to always ask a question to keep a conversation alive. You can also make short comments that show you're engaged. Words like, that's amazing. I know what you mean. That must have been exciting. These little signals show you're listening and make the other person feel valued. Let's imagine you're at a casual gathering and someone tells you they're learning a new language. Instead of only saying, that's great, you could say, that's great. I know learning a language can be challenging. How is it going for you? See how that invites more details while still keeping it friendly. When you're practicing, try to think of conversation as a dance. In a dance, one person leads for a while, then the other takes over. It's the same in speaking. You ask a question, they answer, then maybe they ask you something. The rhythm goes back and forth. Now, here's a tip for when you feel a conversation slowing down. You can change the topic gently by using connecting phrases. For example, speaking of weekends, do you usually go out or stay in? Or, that reminds me of something funny that happened to me last week. These little transitions help you move smoothly without an awkward stop. Let's do another slow, repeat after me session. Speaking of, that reminds me of, by the way, each of these can help you shift topics naturally. Another helpful habit is to notice and use body language. Even though we're focusing on spoken English, remember that smiling, nodding, and keeping eye contact when appropriate all make your words warmer. Even in an audio-first setting like this, imagine yourself smiling as you speak. It changes the tone of your voice and makes it sound more inviting. If you're enjoying this lesson, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more daily English practice. I love helping you learn and grow, and your support means I can keep creating these lessons for you. Now, let's practice with a longer example. Imagine this conversation. You. Hi, how's your day going? Them. It's been busy, but good. You. Busy with work or something else? Them. Work mostly. I have a big project due. You. I see. What's the project about? Notice how each line connects naturally to the one before. It's like walking down a path together, one step at a time. We'll do another one. You. Hi, I like your bag. Them. Thanks, I bought it last week. You. Oh, where did you find it? Them. At a shop near my house. You. Nice. I've been looking for a new one, too. And now you might shift the topic to shopping, colors, or fashion in general. Every time you practice these small steps, you are training your brain to keep going. You're building a memory bank of phrases and questions that you can pull from without thinking too hard. And with time, this will make you feel much more relaxed in real situations. One last exercise for this part. I'll say a conversation starter, and you answer it in your own words out loud. Even if I can't hear you, saying it out loud is important. Ready? What's something you're looking forward to this week? Now you answer. Next, what's your favorite way to spend a Sunday? And answer. And finally, have you tried anything new recently? These are the kinds of questions that open doors, and every time you open a door, you're inviting someone into a friendly, comfortable conversation. In the next section, we'll work on making your responses sound more natural and adding variety to your vocabulary so you don't feel like you're repeating the same phrases every time. When you're starting to feel comfortable keeping a conversation going, the next step is to make your responses richer. This doesn't mean you need to speak longer or use complicated vocabulary. It simply means adding a little more detail so the other person has more to connect with. For example, instead of answering, "Yes, I like reading," you could say, "Yes, I like reading," especially mystery novels, because I enjoy trying to solve the puzzle before the end. That extra detail gives the listener something to respond to. They might ask, "Oh, what's your favorite mystery book?" Or, "Do you read every day?" And now the conversation has more life. A simple way to do this is to use the because technique. When you answer a question, add the word because and give a reason. I like going to the beach because the sound of the waves helps me relax. I enjoy cooking because it makes me feel creative. That one small word opens the door for deeper conversation. Let's practice this slowly together. I'll ask a question, you answer it, and then add because with a reason. Do you like music? Say, "Yes, I do." Oh, because it makes me feel happy. Another one. Do you enjoy traveling? Say, "Yes, I do, because I like seeing new places and meeting new people." Notice how the extra detail makes your answer more interesting. Another way to make your answers richer is to share a small story. It doesn't have to be long or complicated. If someone asks, "How was your weekend?" you could say, "It was great. I went to the park with my friends and we had a picnic under the big oak tree." That's much more engaging than just saying, "It was good." Storytelling also helps people remember you. When you give small, specific details, they paint a picture in the listener's mind, and people are more likely to remember a picture than a short, plain answer. Let's do a visualization exercise. Imagine someone asks you, "How was your morning?" Instead of saying, "Fine," you could say, "It was nice. I made myself a cup of coffee, sat by the window, and watched the rain for a while." Feel how that draws the listener into your experience. You can also make conversations more engaging by reacting with emotion. If someone says, I just got a new puppy, you could respond, "That's wonderful. Puppies are so much fun." Or if someone says, "I had a really long day," you might say, "Oh, I understand. That can be exhausting." These emotional reactions make you sound more human, more caring, and more connected. Let's try a short shadowing practice with emotional reactions. Repeat after me slowly. "That's great. I'm happy for you. I'm sorry to hear that. Wow, that sounds exciting. I know what you mean." Each of these shows empathy, and empathy makes conversations warmer. Something else to remember is that conversations are not only about words, they're also about the feeling you create. If your tone is friendly, even a short answer can feel inviting. If your tone is flat or rushed, even a long answer might feel cold. So practice speaking with a smile in your voice. It makes a bigger difference than you might think. Here's a simple exercise to help. Say the phrase, "It's nice to meet you," once with no emotion. Now say it again, but imagine you're happy to meet this person. Feel the difference in your tone. That's the power of emotion in your voice. Also, don't be afraid of short silences. Sometimes we think silence is bad, but in real conversations, small pauses are natural. They give both people time to think and breathe. You don't need to fill every second. Instead, focus on making your words meaningful when you do speak. Another skill to practice is answering a question and then turning it back to the other person. This is called bouncing the conversation. If someone says, "I like hiking," you could say, "That's great. I like hiking too, especially in the mountains. Where do you usually go hiking?" This way, you share something and then invite them to share more. Let's practice bouncing questions together. I'll give you an example and you repeat it after me. "I like cooking, especially Italian food. How about you?" "I enjoy watching movies, mostly comedies. What about you?" "I've been learning guitar recently. Do you play any instruments?" See how these answers are like two parts. First, your own thought, and then a question back to them. It keeps the conversation balanced, so it doesn't feel like an interview or a speech. When you practice these techniques every day, they become part of how you naturally speak. At first, you might have to think about adding detail or bouncing the question back, but over time, it will feel automatic. That's when conversations start to feel effortless. Now, imagine this real-life example. You're meeting someone new at a friend's house. They say, "Hi, I'm Alex. Nice to meet you." You say, "Nice to meet you too, Alex. I've heard you enjoy photography." They say, "Yes, I do. I love taking nature photos." You respond, "That's amazing. I love nature too. What's your favorite place to take pictures?" See how it flows? You're not forcing it. You're just curious and open. And the best part is, the more you do this, the less you'll worry about finding the perfect words. You'll be focused on connection, not perfection. And that is where real fluency begins. Once you start focusing on connection instead of perfection, conversations become lighter. You don't feel the same pressure to impress, and that makes your speech more natural. When you speak naturally, people respond more openly, and that creates a positive cycle. The more comfortable they are, the more comfortable you feel, and the easier it becomes to keep talking. One way to keep that comfort going is to vary the way you ask questions. If you always ask yes or no questions, the answers will be short. Instead, try asking open-ended questions that encourage longer responses. For example, instead of, "Do you like music?" you could ask, "What kind of music do you like?" Instead of, "Did you enjoy your weekend?" you could ask, "What did you do over the weekend?" That small change makes a big difference. Let's do a quick practice. I'll say a short, closed question, and you turn it into an open one. "Do you like sports?" becomes, "What sports do you like?" "Did you have a good day?" becomes, "What made your day good today?" You see how this gives the other person more space to share. When you ask open questions, you invite stories, and stories are what make conversations memorable. Think about the last time someone told you a story, even a small one. You probably remember it more than if they had just given you a short answer. That's because stories create images in our minds. And when the other person tells a story, you can react in ways that encourage them to keep talking. You can say things like, "That's interesting, what happened next?" Or, "Oh, wow, how did you feel about that?" These little reactions show that you care about their experience. Here's another tip. You don't have to be serious all the time. Adding small bits of humor when it's natural can make the conversation feel light and friendly. For example, if someone says, "I'm terrible at cooking," you could smile and say, "That's okay. Maybe we can be terrible together." Light humor makes you more approachable. But remember, humor should always be kind, never at someone's expense. The goal is to make people feel comfortable, not embarrassed. Let's practice some light, friendly responses you can use. Repeat after me slowly. "That's true. I've done the same thing before." "I know, it happens to all of us." "That's funny. I never thought of it that way." These show that you're engaged without making the other person feel judged. When you're starting out, it's also helpful to have a few personal topics ready that you can talk about comfortably. These can be things you enjoy, hobbies you have, or interesting experiences you've had. If you can speak about them easily, you'll feel more confident in starting and continuing conversations. For example, maybe you love gardening. You could talk about the plants you grow, how they change with the seasons, or the satisfaction of watching something you've cared for grow. Or maybe you enjoy traveling, and you could share a memory from a favorite trip. This doesn't mean you should always talk about yourself, but having a few safe topics you can fall back on can help when you feel nervous or when the conversation slows. Let's practice turning one of your hobbies into a conversation starter. Imagine someone asks, "What do you like to do in your free time?" Instead of just saying, "I like painting," you could say, "I like painting, especially landscapes, because it helps me relax after a busy week." That extra detail invites them to ask more. Another great way to make conversation flow is to connect topics. If someone says, "I went to the beach last weekend," you can respond with something related like, "I love the beach too. The sound of the waves is so calming." and then add a question. Do you go often? This connection technique works like building a bridge. Every time you relate to what the other person says, you're creating a stronger link between you. Now let's shadow a few of these bridge sentences together. I can relate to that. I've had the same experience. That reminds me of a time when I feel the same way about. Use these to connect your world to theirs. And remember, sometimes the best way to keep a conversation alive is simply to show genuine curiosity. When you're curious, your questions feel natural, and your listening feels real. People can tell when you're truly interested, and that's when the conversation becomes more than just words. It becomes a connection. When you combine open questions, personal sharing, connection phrases, and genuine curiosity, you'll notice that conversations don't just start, they keep going naturally, even with people you've just met. As conversations become easier for you to maintain, you might start to notice that your confidence grows in other areas of speaking too. You feel less worried about making small mistakes and more focused on the connection you're building. That's exactly where we want to be. Because language is not just about perfect grammar. It's about communicating your thoughts, your feelings, and your personality. One way to add even more depth to your conversations is to use follow-up questions that go beyond the surface. These are questions that dig just a little deeper without feeling intrusive. For example, if someone says, "I like cooking," you could first ask, "What's your favorite dish to make?" And then follow it with, "How did you learn to cook?" By layering your questions gently, you keep the conversation flowing and show real interest. Let's practice slowly. I'll give you a statement, and you think of 2 follow-up questions you could ask. I started a new job last week. Maybe you ask, "What kind of job is it?" And then, "How are you finding it so far?" Another one, "I've been learning guitar." You might say, "What made you want to learn guitar?" And, "Do you have a favorite song you like to play?" It's also helpful to mix in some reflective responses. These are sentences that show you're not only listening, but also thinking about what the person has said. For example, "That must have taken a lot of patience." Or, "It sounds like you've really enjoyed that experience." These short comments make your conversation richer and show empathy. Sometimes, especially in casual chats, the other person might give a short answer without much detail. Instead of letting the conversation stop, you can use gentle encouragement to invite them to say more. Phrases like, "Tell me more about that," or "What happened after that?" Or even just, "Really?" spoken with interest, can help draw out more from them. Let's shadow a few encouragement phrases together. "That's interesting. Tell me more. I'd love to hear the rest of the story." "What happened next?" Keep your tone friendly and light when you say these. Another way to strengthen conversations is to share your thoughts in a way that connects to theirs. This makes the exchange feel mutual rather than one-sided. For example, if someone says, "I went hiking last weekend," you could respond, "That's great. I went hiking last month. The fresh air felt amazing." You've shared your experience and kept the same topic alive. If you notice that a conversation is getting repetitive, you can shift the focus gently by using transition phrases. For example, speaking of weekends, do you have any plans for the next one? Or, that reminds me, I wanted to ask you about something else. These help the flow without making it seem like you're changing the subject too suddenly. In real-life conversations, there will always be moments when things slow down. This is not something to fear. Silence can be a natural part of speaking, and it often gives the other person time to think. If the silence feels too long, that's your moment to bring in a safe question or observation. Let's do a small role-play practice in your mind. Imagine you're at a small dinner with friends. You're sitting next to someone you've just met. After a few short exchanges, the conversation goes quiet. You take a sip of water, then say, "So how do you know the host?" That's a natural way to restart the conversation without pressure. You can also prepare small go-to topics for times like this. These can be about local events, food, hobbies, travel, or even the weather. Yes, even the weather can be a safe and easy way to start talking again. "It's been so sunny this week, hasn't it?" Or, "I heard it might rain tomorrow." These small comments may seem simple, but they can lead to bigger topics. Let's shadow some safe topic starters together. "I've been trying a new recipe lately." "I saw a really good movie last week." "I'm planning a trip soon." "The weather's been unusual lately." Each of these can spark a longer exchange if you follow it with a question. One thing I want to remind you is that the goal is not to impress someone with perfect English. The goal is to make them feel comfortable talking with you. That comfort is what will help the conversation grow. Even if you make small mistakes, most people won't notice. And if they do, they won't care as much as you think. The truth is, good conversations aren't about showing how much you know. They're about making the other person feel heard. That's what people remember, not whether your grammar was perfect, but whether they felt understood and valued when talking to you. When you start viewing conversation as a way to connect rather than a test of your English skills, you'll feel less stress, and you'll begin to enjoy speaking in English more. In a moment, we'll go through some example dialogues that put all of these techniques together so you can hear how it all sounds when it flows naturally. Let's start with a simple, everyday situation so you can hear how all of these skills work together. Imagine you're at a coffee shop and the person next to you is reading a book. You: "Hi, that book looks interesting. What's it about?" Them: "It's a mystery novel. I just started." Show. You: "Nice. I love mystery stories because I enjoy trying to guess the ending. How's it going so far?" Them: "It's really good. Very suspenseful." You: "That's great. Who's your favorite character so far?" See how it starts with a friendly observation, then moves into a question, then connects with a personal comment, and then goes deeper with another question. That's the natural rhythm we're practicing. Here's another one. You're waiting for a bus. You: "I think the bus is running late today." Them: "Yeah, it's been a while." You: "It happens a lot in the evenings. Do you take this bus every day?" Them: "Most days, yes. I work nearby." You: "Oh, what kind of work do you do?" Again, it begins with a small comment about the situation you're both in, then uses questions to keep it going. Let's try a slightly longer one. You're at a friend's party, meeting someone for the first time. You. Hi, I don't think we've met before. I'm Sarah. Them. Hi, Sarah. I'm Daniel. You. Nice to meet you, Daniel. How do you know the host? Them. We work together. You. Oh, that's cool. What kind of work do you do? Them. I'm a graphic designer. You. That's interesting. I've always admired design work. What kind of projects do you enjoy the most? Notice how you're not just asking random questions. Each one grows naturally from the answer you just heard. To practice this skill, you can try a listen and build exercise. Think of a topic, say a sentence about it, and then create your next question based only on that sentence. For example, if the topic is food and someone says, I tried a new restaurant last night, your next question could be, oh, what kind of food do they serve? If they say, it's Italian, you might ask, that sounds delicious. Do you have a favorite Italian dish? Let's shadow some natural conversation reactions together. Repeat after me slowly. That sounds great. How did you find out about it? I'd like to try that. Can you recommend it? That's interesting. I've never heard of it before. Each one is a way to keep the energy moving without jumping to a totally new subject. You can also use gentle agreement to make the conversation warmer. When someone says, I love sunny weather, you can respond, me too. It makes me feel more energetic. That's called building on their statement, and it helps you sound more engaged. If you're worried about running out of topics, remember that you can always go back to safe ground. People usually enjoy talking about food, hobbies, travel, or simple life experiences. Even something like, what do you usually do on weekends, can lead to many directions. Let's do another mental role play. You're meeting someone at a community event. You. Hi, it's nice to see you here. Have you been to this event before? Them. Yes, I came last year. You. Oh, that's nice. What did you enjoy most about it? Them. The music was great. You. I love live music. What kind of bands did they have? The flow is easy because you're showing curiosity while letting the other person do some of the talking. Another important thing is pacing. In these examples, you'll notice that I never rush from one question to the next. I give space for the answer, react to it, and then move forward. That pacing is what makes a conversation feel comfortable instead of like an interview. Let's shadow a few pacing-friendly sentences. That's interesting. Short pause. How did you get into that? Wow. Short pause. That must have been exciting. I see. Short pause. So, what happened after that? The pauses make your words sound natural and thoughtful. Over time, as you keep practicing, you'll notice that you don't have to think so hard about what to say. The words will start to come naturally because you've trained yourself to listen and respond instead of memorizing lines. And when you feel comfortable in one-on-one conversations like these, you can start using the same skills in small groups. The principles are the same: listen, connect, ask, and share. The only difference is that you might not speak as much at once, but you can still contribute in a way that feels confident. In the next section, we'll work on how to handle situations where the other person talks very fast or uses words you don't understand without letting the conversation stop. Sometimes in real life, you'll meet people who speak very quickly, or they might use expressions or slang that you're not familiar with. This can make you feel nervous or unsure of how to respond, but there are simple techniques you can use to keep the conversation alive, even if you don't understand every word. The first technique is to focus on the key words. Even if you don't catch every single thing they say, try to listen for the main topic. For example, if someone says quickly, "Yeah, I was just at this amazing street market downtown and they had all these great food stalls," you can focus on the words street market and food stalls. That's enough to respond with something like, "That sounds nice. What kind of food did they have?" The second technique is to ask for clarification in a natural way. Instead of saying, "I don't understand," which can feel too direct, you can use softer phrases like, "Sorry, could you say that again more slowly?" Or, "I didn't catch that last part. Could you repeat it?" These sound friendly and keep the conversation comfortable. Let's shadow a few of these together. "Sorry, could you say that again more slowly?" "I didn't catch that last part. Could you repeat it?" What does that mean? Each of these is polite and clear, and most people will be happy to slow down or explain. Another helpful habit is to confirm what you think you heard. This is called paraphrasing. If someone says, "I just started a new hobby," you can respond, "Oh, you just started a new hobby?" This not only shows you're listening, but also gives them a chance to correct or add more information. Sometimes you might understand the words but not the cultural meaning. In those cases, you can show curiosity without feeling embarrassed. For example, "That's interesting. I've never heard that before. Could you explain it?" People usually enjoy explaining things from their own culture, and it becomes a learning moment for you. If the person you're talking to speaks fast naturally, you can also adjust your own pace. Slow your speaking just a little, and they might naturally match your rhythm. This makes the exchange feel less rushed and gives you more time to think. Let's try a small role play. Someone says quickly, "I'm heading to a potluck later." You might not know the word potluck, but you can say, "I'm not sure I know that word. What's a potluck?" Now they explain, and you've learned something new. You've kept the conversation going instead of letting it end in confusion. Remember, it's not a problem to ask questions. In fact, asking questions is one of the fastest ways to build a connection. It shows you care about what the other person is saying and that you want to understand them better. Another thing to keep in mind is that you don't have to respond instantly. If someone says something and you need a moment to think, you can use short fillers that sound natural. Things like, let me think, or that's a good question. Give you a few seconds to find your words. Let's shadow a few of those natural thinking phrases. Let me think. That's a good question. Well, short pause. I'd say, these make you sound thoughtful rather than silent or unsure. Over time, you'll learn to be comfortable even when you don't understand everything. Conversations are not tests where you need 100% correct answers. They're moments to connect, share, and learn. Sometimes not knowing a word gives you the perfect chance to learn it in the most memorable way, through real human interaction. And when you approach these moments with curiosity instead of fear, you'll notice that your confidence grows much faster. It's like discovering that every conversation, even the ones with challenges, is a step forward in your fluency journey. In the next section, we'll focus on how to end conversations in a friendly way that leaves the other person with a good impression, and also how to make sure those conversations lead to more opportunities to speak in the future. Knowing how to start and keep a conversation going is important, but knowing how to end one gracefully is just as valuable. A good ending leaves the other person with a positive feeling and often makes them want to talk to you again in the future. One of the simplest ways to end a conversation is to summarize the last thing you talked about and add a friendly closing line. For example, if you were talking about books, you might say, "It was great hearing about your favorite books. I'll have to check them out sometime." This shows you were listening and leaves them with a sense of appreciation. You can also end by making a light future connection. Something like, "It was nice talking to you. Maybe we can talk more about this next time." Or, "I hope we can continue this conversation later." These keep the door open without making it feel like pressure. Let's shadow a few friendly ending phrases together. "It was nice talking to you. I hope we can talk again soon. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with me. Enjoy the rest of your day." Each of these is simple, warm, and easy to remember. In situations where you need to leave quickly, you can still end politely. For example, "I have to go now, but it was great talking to you." Or, "I need to head out, but I enjoyed our chat." These give a clear signal that you're ending the conversation, but they still sound kind. Another technique is to connect the ending with something you've learned during the conversation. If you were talking about travel, you could say, "Thanks for telling me about that place. I'll keep it in mind for my next trip." That little personal touch makes the ending feel more genuine. Let's imagine a real-life example. You're talking to someone at a park. You: "It was great hearing about your weekend hikes. I've never been to that trail before." Them: "Yeah, it's a great spot." You: "I'll have to visit sometime. Anyway, I should get going, but it was nice talking with you." Them: "You too." Ending conversations this way shows respect for the other person's time and makes it easy for both of you to part on good terms. Sometimes you might want to end a conversation not because you have to leave, but because it feels like it's slowing down naturally. In these moments, you can use soft transitions like, "Well, I should let you get back to what you were doing," or, "Anyway, I won't keep you, but it was great talking." These phrases signal the conversation is coming to a close without it feeling abrupt. You can also make endings more memorable by adding a small compliment or a positive note. For example, "It was great hearing your ideas. You explained them so clearly." Or, "I enjoyed talking with you. You have such interesting stories." Let's shadow a few ending compliments. "I learned something new from our talk. You made me smile today." That was a really enjoyable conversation. Speaking these slowly and warmly will leave a lasting, good impression. One last tip. If you want more opportunities to speak with the person again, make the effort to follow up. You could say, "Let's talk again next week," or "Next time we meet, I'll tell you about," and then mention something interesting. This creates a reason for the next conversation to happen. Remember, ending a conversation is not the end of your connection. It's just the pause before the next opportunity. And when you leave the other person feeling good, they'll look forward to speaking with you again. In the next section, we'll bring everything together, starting, keeping, and ending conversations, and I'll guide you through a longer, realistic dialogue that uses all the skills we've been practicing so far. Now, let's put everything together in a single, flowing example so you can hear how these techniques sound when they work in harmony. We'll go through a full conversation from the very first greeting, through keeping it alive, and finally to ending it warmly. Imagine you're at a small local event, maybe a weekend market. You notice someone looking at the same table of handmade candles as you. "Hi, these candles smell amazing. Have you tried them before?" Them. "Yes, I bought one last month." You. "Nice. Which scent did you choose?" Them. "Lavender. It's my favorite." You. "Lavender's great. I like it because it's so relaxing. Do you use it at night or during the day?" Them. "Mostly at night, before bed." You. "That makes sense. I sometimes light a candle when I'm reading before sleep. It makes the room feel calm." Here, you've started with a shared observation, shown interest, added a personal comment, and asked follow-up questions. The conversation feels easy because you're connecting your world with theirs. Now, let's keep the conversation moving. Them. "Do you come to this market often?" You. "Not every week, but I try to visit once or twice a month. How about you?" Them. "Almost every Saturday." You. "That's nice. Do you usually shop here alone or with friends?" Them. "With friends, usually." You. "That must be fun. Do you all have a favorite stall you visit together?" Them. "Yes, there's a bakery we love." You. "Oh, I think I've seen it. Do they make the chocolate croissants?" Them. "Yes, those are the ones." Here, you've practiced bouncing questions back, using their answers to lead naturally into your next line. Now, let's see how to transition topics smoothly. You. "Speaking of bakeries, have you tried the coffee shop just around the corner?" Them. "No, I haven't." You. "They make really good cappuccinos. I like going there when I have time to sit and read. Do you drink coffee or tea more often?" Them. "Coffee, definitely." You. "Me too. What's your favorite kind?" Them. "A latte." You. "That's a good choice. I like lattes in the winter because they feel warm and comforting." In this part, you've linked one idea to another, moving from candles to markets to bakeries to coffee. Each step feels connected and natural. Now, let's see how to handle it if you don't understand something. Them. "Sometimes I get a flat white instead." You. "A flat white? I'm not sure I know the difference. What's that like?" Them. It's like a latte but with less milk and a stronger coffee taste. You. Ah, I see. That sounds nice. I'll have to try one sometime. By asking for clarification politely, you've learned something new and kept the exchange friendly. Finally, let's close the conversation warmly. You. It was great talking to you about all this. I'll have to try that bakery next time. Them. Yes, you should. You. Well, I should let you enjoy the rest of the market, but I hope we can talk again sometime. Them. Sure, take care. You. You too. Have a great day. In that short dialogue, you've used almost every skill we've practiced, starting with a friendly opener, keeping the talk alive with follow-ups, making smooth transitions, asking for clarification when needed, and ending on a positive note. The more you practice in real life, the easier it will become to use these skills without thinking about them too much. Over time, your confidence will grow, and you'll find yourself enjoying conversations in English rather than worrying about them. In the final section, I'll leave you with a motivational message and a few last tips to help you keep building your fluency every day. Before we wrap up today's lesson, I want to remind you of something important. Every conversation you have in English, no matter how short, is a step forward. You don't have to speak perfectly for it to be meaningful. You don't have to know every word for it to be valuable. What matters most is that you are trying, connecting, and learning with each interaction. When you start a conversation, you are opening a door. When you keep it going, you are walking through that door together, and when you end it warmly, you are leaving it open for the next time. This is how relationships are built, one conversation at a time. I know it can be challenging to approach someone and start talking. Maybe you worry about your grammar, your accent, or whether the other person will understand you. But the truth is, most people are just happy that you're making the effort. They're not keeping a score of your mistakes. They're listening to your message, your tone, and your willingness to connect. So be gentle with yourself. Give yourself permission to pause, to ask for repetition, to make mistakes, and learn from them. Because that's how real progress happens. The more you practice, the less you will think about the mechanics of speaking, and the more you will focus on the joy of communication. I also want you to remember that fluency is not built in a day. It's built in small, daily moments. A short chat with a coworker, a quick hello to a neighbor, asking someone at a shop how their day is going. These tiny conversations add up over time, and one day you'll notice you're speaking more easily than ever before. If you ever feel stuck or shy, come back to the skills we practiced today. Start with something simple. Keep the flow by connecting to what the other person says. Share a little about yourself. Show curiosity. And close with warmth. These steps work in almost any situation, and they will become second nature the more you use them. You've already taken a big step today just by listening to this lesson and practicing along with me. That shows dedication, and I'm proud of you for it. So the next time you have the chance to start a conversation in English, I want you to remember this moment. Remember that you are capable, prepared, and ready to connect. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you feel more confident and inspired to start conversations in English, whether it's with friends, classmates, colleagues, or new people you meet along the way. You are building not just your language skills, but your courage and your ability to connect with the world. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss future lessons. I'll be here to guide you step by step, and together we'll keep improving your English, one conversation at a time. You've got this. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and keep believing in yourself. I'll see you in the next lesson.